Okay, so we are on page 536. 536, 534. So there's one part that I skipped yesterday. Tomorrow, we're going to do something on Pesach. We're going to go through a few points on Pesach. And I was asked to do the following for those who are, I'm supposed to tell you that anybody who purchases any of the available stuff at Dovid B. Kaplan on PayPal, so be aware that it's going to go into, there's some sort of website that's being set up. I'm not paying for it, so the guy offered to do it, so I'm a former student. And so if it goes into a different account, it's going to be something Lev Seltzer. If it goes into that, it's not a scam. Be aware that it's not a scam. That's what I'm supposed to announce.
You're saying the sender is going to...
The sender who sends payment to my thing may see that it's being diverted to somebody named Lev Seltzer, who is a former student. And he can be trusted. Yeah. He's well. If he could trust anybody with money, he could be trusted. So that just be aware that the Pesach, the Haggadah rhymes, or all the other things that our people want to purchase. If you see it that it gets diverted, he just told me to announce because he redid the whole thing and he redesigned it. He's got a website. And he even sent me an email today that when he said, maybe I'll talk to one of your family members who I could communicate with about the technical end, because I can't, because I don't understand what's going on.
But people aren't sending it directly to your PayPal now, they're going to a website.
No, they're sending it to they're sending it my PayPal to me, to my email, but then then something apparently will, listen, I don't know anything about this, ask me about the topography in Afghanistan, I'm much better on that, So just be aware you're not getting scammed. Okay. Can you trust this face? Okay, take a look at Pasuk Lamed Beis. This is the last one we had done yesterday. It's towards the bottom. It's 5 lines from the bottom. Vatechal kol avodas hamishkan, mishkan o moed. All the work was completed. Vayasu b'nei Yisrael kechol asher tziva Hashem es Moshe kein asu. B'nei Yisrael did what Hashem commanded Moshe. Anybody see a logical problem in that pasuk? Vatechal, I read it again. Vatechal kol avodas hamishkan ha'moed. All of the work was completed. Vayasu b'nei Yisrael kechol asher tziva Hashem es Moshe kein asu. B'nei Yisrael did as all Hashem commanded Moshe. Anybody see any problem with that structure? The structure of the pasuk, yeah.
Just how many times they said they did it?
That's one problem. We're going to deal with that on another pasuk. But something else about the structure. What's the problem?
It goes from children of Israel to then Hashem, then to Moshe.
Interesting, but that's.
Should it go top to bottom?
It should go top to bottom. You see, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. What is something here? What do you say, B'nai?
To say that all the work was done, but then say, and they did.
Yes. In other words, I would have said, and the Bnei Israel did all that Hashem commanded Moshe, and all the work got done. As opposed to all the work got done, and the Bnei Yisrael did as Hashem commanded Moshe. It's blatantly out of order, seemingly blatantly out of order. So the Mefarshim say that the Torah is telling us they couldn't do it. There was no way they could do it by natural law, natural talent. There's no way they could have done it. They didn't have any of the skills. They didn't have any. They didn't probably the amount of time that it took to do it. None of this was natural. The Mishkan got done, and the Bnei Yisrael now get credit for doing it, even though it wasn't your efforts that did it. You did the efforts because that's what you have to do according to halacha. You have to make what we call the ishtadlus. So there's a fascinating concept here because there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that says that people who are working kol ha'osek ve'atem people. It says people who are involved in communal projects. Let's say you're the guy trying to build a shul or trying to build a mikveh or trying to get a day school off the ground. So you should know that what you're doing and what you accomplish is in the merit of the forefathers of the community. Don't think you did it. But the Mishnah concludes with, Ve'atem ma le'ani sochar alechem ki'ilu asisem. You get reward as if you did do it. I mean, you have to make an effort. There are a lot of people who have accomplished stuff that there was no chance by natural law, like building Ohr Somayach, or building a shul. And all of a sudden, there's a guy in Bnei Brak. You've heard of Ezer Mitzion? You haven't heard of Ezer Mitzion? It's one of the biggest medical relief organizations in Israel, if not the biggest. And the founder is a man named Hanania Cholak, Rav Hanania Cholak. He's the founder. They provide all sorts of medical assistance and what do you call it? They're a massive organization. So he was once in the office and the phone rang. He's the head of this organization. He's in the office and the phone rings. He picks up the phone and he hears a woman's voice. Hello, is this an old lady? Is this the director of Ezer Mitzion? He goes, yes. He goes, okay, good. I want to make a $2 million donation to your organization, but I wasn't going to donate it if the secretary was, if I have secretaries, because that's a waste of money. I want to know that the director answers the phone. So Rabbi Cholak said to her, well, we do have secretaries because it's a massive organization, and I only happen to be in the office today, and I'm not normally here. I'm here every 3 weeks, and I just happened to hear the phone, and I picked it up. So she goes, no. If you're answering the phone, that means there are no secretaries, there's only a director. And he got $2 million toward the organization. Right? This is a man who's always trying to fundraise, always trying to think, and all of a sudden, Kodesh Baruch Hu drops one on you. He just drops one on you. So you have to make your what we call the hishtadlus. You make your hishtadlus, but realize at the end of the day, and now the upshot of it is you get credit as if you did it. It had nothing to do with you. The Mishkan got made, but the Jewish people now get credit because they tried. And in Avodas Hashem, we have to know that when a person, we're going to speak about that. We're going to speak about more in a second. But there was a guy at a Sheva Brachas. So the father of the bride gets up at the Sheva Brachas. She says, I want you to know that a few months back, I was hitchhiking from Yerushalayim to Bnei Brak. And a Yeshiva Bacher stopped by with his car to pick me up, and I got into the car, and his air conditioning wasn't working, and it was a blistering hot day. And we hit a lot of traffic between Yerushalayim and Bnei Brak. And I want you to know that not once, with a lot of angry drivers on the road, not once did this young man honk his horn. And I said to myself, that's the type of guy that I want for my daughter, and that is today's chassan at the Sheva Brachos is the young man who married my daughter. So everybody goes, oh, wow, that's unbelievable. Then they ask the chassan, gets up to speak, and the chassan says, my horn wasn't working that day. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you could try, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu is gonna make the decision. You want to hear this is incredible? You're not gonna believe this. And I heard this in the Shemin Odom Gadol. There was a group of kashrus supervisors, kashrus mashgichim, from the United States. They flew to Japan. I know a guy. My brother's mechutin is a kashrus supervisor in Japan. He goes to China and Japan a lot. He taught himself Japanese. A brilliant man. He taught himself Japanese, but the Japanese don't know that he knows Japanese. Smart, right? That way he knows that he hears exactly what's going on. A very unbelievably responsible person, one of the top experts in kashrus. So this group of kashrus mashgichim fly from America to Japan, and then they got an internal flight. So they get to the desk, and the lady at the desk says to them, you have to pay another $200 for the internal flight. They said, no, we don't. We got the ticket that goes all the way through. And they started getting into an argument, and she turned to her colleague at the desk, and she cursed them in Japanese. You don't have to be brilliant to know you've been cursed. And she cursed them in Japanese. So these guys were frustrated, they're jet lagged, they're tired. So one of the guys said to me, used an expression from the Gemara, he kind of nodded with his head. He said, Sheyamusu misa mishuna, which means may they die a painful death. That wasn't a nice thing to say. He was having a bad day. It wasn't a nice thing to say, but he said, Sheyamusu misa mishuna. So she says to him, go to office. And she points down the hall. So they go down to these guys, go trudging down to the office. They knock on the door. They come in. The Japanese colonel sitting behind the desk. He says in fluent English, what seems to be the problem, gentlemen? They said, listen, we bought these tickets. They go all the way through. She wants another $200. So give me the tickets. He takes his pen. He initials the tickets. You could get on the plane. What happened? It turned out this guy's name was Shayamusu Misam Shune. When she heard them say Shayamusu Misam Mishune, she thought that they had some protexia with the colonel, so she got nervous. So she sent them down to Shayamusu Misam Shune. And Shayamusu Misam Shune then initialed it and put on. So somebody once said to me, is that story true? I said, I'll tell you the truth. if it isn't true, I would love to meet the guy who made it up. That's the guy you want to hang out with, you know. So it's the truth is stranger than fiction. But at the end of the day, you have to know that you're not doing anything. Kodesh Baruch Hu is running the show. Kodesh Baruch Hu is running, and we get credit for it. That's what the mission. Do you have a sitter over there somewhere? There is any sitter. I just want to read you the here we got it. You know, it's a mission in the second chapter of Pirkei Avos. Oh, no. Yeah. Way off, baby, way off. Couldn't be farther away. So but it was good. Yeah, at least I got you for a second. So it says like this. Where is it? Bays. The problem is that the sitter is structured slightly differently than the bays. Bays. Here, all those who are involved with the community, you oski mimam l'shem shemayim. Devote yourself to do the job because you have to do the job to serve Hashem. Sheschus avosa misayatam. The merit of the forefather of the ancestors of the community is going to help you. Vitzidkasa momedas, the righteousness stands by them for good. Ve'atem, you the people who make the effort, ma'aleh ani alechem sachar harbe kilu asisam. You're going to get rewarded as if you did it, as if you accomplished it. So some commentaries that say, you know what it means? Ve'atem ma'aleh ani sachar harbe kilu asisam means that, you know, sometimes let's say I'm involved in helping the shul, the community build a mikvah or a shul. Well, that's a lot of time off of my learning and off of other things that I could be doing. You'll get rewarded for learning during that time because you were using your time to help the community. And I've mentioned to you guys in the past that eventually, you know, you're all going to be parts of a community. And you have to know that as part of the community, there's always that natural tendency people say, why don't they build a day school? Why don't they build a shul? Why don't they, right? You and me, we are they. And it's somebody who sees something needs to be done and takes the initiative and does it. That's usually how things happen. If you don't, there's nobody who was naturally, you know, he was born to be the mikvah guy. He saw the need for the community. He went around, asked people to get on the project, got insulted a dozen times by people who said, don't be such a dreamer. But he did it. And in the end, all the benefits that he now are credited to him. All the mitzvahs that happen in a shul, in the davening, everything else is credited to him. We have a shul in our community. I moved into Neve Yaakov 40 years ago. And like all other communities in Israel, that starts out, you're davening in a caravan. No shuls. So we had one guy who was a guy learning in Kollel. And by the time I got to the community 2 years after the original group of Avrechim had gone to this place, and there was already a shul. The frame of a shul was standing. A brick shul was standing, which is very fast for a Kollel community to get a shul up and running. And what happened was, the guy who was the head of the project. So there was an eccentric man from England who used to come. He's actually from Scotland. He used to come to Israel 2 times a year. He was never married. Came to Israel 2 times a year. Very wealthy, with suitcases full of cash, and he would stay in the Central Hotel. And the poor people would line up, and he would just give lines of people. He'd just give out cash. Twice a year, he'd came Pesach and Sukkot time, and give out cash. Yeah, I got there too late. But he gave out cash. So what happened was, this guy went there to go and offer. He wanted to see, maybe he wants to donate a shul. Maybe he wants to build a shul. So he gets there in line. He's waiting with this line of people, and eventually the guy who runs his show, what they call the Gabbai or the Shamish, the guy who's at his, he closes the door. He says, "Okay, that's it for the night, everybody." So everybody left. So this guy, my friend, goes around the side door of the hotel and pushes a door open, and the door opens. So he walked right past upstairs to this guy's room and just knocked on the door of his room. The guy let him in. He said, "We got a new community. Want to build a shul? Would you like to donate the shul?" He said, "Yeah, I want to build a shul in memory of my father." And that was the initial, I think at the time, was $12,000. And that started the building of the shul. And the shul got built all because he knocked on the door. Yet now, all the davening and all the learning and everything happens in the shul. This guy has a share in it. That's Vatem Alinu Sochar Gevihilu Asisa. Okay, let's go on. There's in Pasuk Lamed Gimel. We have to take a look. Vayaviu es hamishkan, 4 lines from the bottom. Vayaviu es hamishkan el Moshe. They bring the Mishkan to Moshe. Es ha'ol v'eskol kreilov, all of the utensils, krusov, brichav, abudav, adon, of all the clasps, or the hooks, and the cords, and the poles. They bring it all to Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, take a look at Rashi. Where is the Rashi? Is it on the next page? Yeah, it's on the next. It's actually on the facing page. Left column of Rashi on the facing on 535. Instead, on 535, the left column of Rashi. So it says, "Vayaviu es hamishkan." Says Rashi, "Shelo hayu yecholim lahakiba." 4 lines in. Everybody see that? 4 lines in on the left column. Shelo hayu yecholim lahakiba. They couldn't put it up. Ulefi shelo asa Moshe shu malacha b'mishkan. Since Moshe didn't do any work in the actual work of the Mishkan, he was a supervisor. Hiniach lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu hakamoso. HaKadosh Baruch Hu let Moshe be the one to build it, to actually erect it. Shelo haya yochol lahakimo shum adam. Nobody could put it up. Machmas koved hakroshim, because of the heaviness of the beams. So nobody was able to do it. She'ein koach b'adam zozakvan, because no human being had the strength to put it up. U'Moshe ha'amido. And Moshe is the one who put it up. Now stay with Rashi, gentlemen. Omer Moshe lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Moshe said to Hashem, Eich efsher hakamoso al yedei adam. How can a person possibly do this? You want me to put up the Mishkan? How can I do it? Omar le, Hashem said to Moshe, Asok ata biyadcha. You go through the motions with your hands. V'nira kimekimo. It'll look like you're putting it up. V'hu niskam v'kame elav. And then it'll get up, it'll stand up by itself. You just go through the motions. Let the Mishkan do its thing. V'zeu shenemar hukam hamishkan. That's why it says later on, the Mishkan went up. Now, take a look for a sec. Keep your finger on the place here. Look at the very next page. On the very next page, on 538, look 8 lines down from the top. And at the end of the line, it says, Vayokem Moshe es hamishkan. Moshe put up the Mishkan. Well, Rashi over here points out that it only looked like he did it. Yet the pasuk over there says Moshe did it. So that needs to be reconciled. That's problem number one. We'll get to that. Problem number 2 is there's a medrash that says Moshe. You have a question, Lenny?
Yeah, but
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
If they know it's like a miraculous construction, but God's saying go through the motions and I'll make it look like you're doing it, isn't Hashem kind of risking that Moshe's going to be elevated to like? They already know he's like special and elevated, but now he's doing like supernatural feats, like of strength. Like it's a little.
I'm not sure whether I don't understand the question. So what's
a risk of like turning
Moshe into somebody? He's asking if by having Moshe do something supernatural, isn't it running the risk of turning Moshe Rabbeinu into some sort of almost godlike entity, which other religions have made this mistake? That's what you mean, right?
Yeah, because obviously he performed other miracles, but this is like a physical. It looks like a normal.
Okay. You mean that? So he's adding to the question. He's asking that this looks even more miraculous than splitting the sea, because splitting the sea was just he never touched it. Whereas here it looks like Superman is putting up the beams. I hear the question. I'm not sure that it's. I'm not sure that I'd be more impressed with putting up beams than splitting of the sea. I think a guy who says at 12 tomorrow night, every firstborn is going to die, and then they do it midnight. I think that's pretty impressive. Turn it off for 1 second. I think I'm getting allergies. Excuse me 1 second.
Relative of it or lack thereof?
Yeah, both. So I'm not sure. But the question is like this. There's a medrash that says Moshe Rabbeinu was upset that he didn't participate physically in the building of the medrash says that Moshe Rabbeinu was upset. That Hashem said, "Oh, you're upset? Okay, so you put it up, and it'll look like you're putting it up." Because Moshe Rabbeinu came to Hashem and says, "I'm supervising, which is my job, Pesach time. I sit around and supervise, which is why they always ask me to leave the house. So Moshe Rabbeinu he's upset. What are you upset about? Moshe Rabbeinu, it's all in your merit. Why are you upset? You're the supervisor of the Mishkan. You have, because you didn't actually physically touch it, that's why you're upset. So the Mefarshim explain, why do we have so many mitzvahs? And of all times that we have mitzvahs, Pesach. Look what we're doing at the Pesach Seder, matzah, maror, what do you call it, charoses, and cleaning for Pesach. The Sefer HaChinuch says, by Pesach, the Sefer HaChinuch says, Ki ha'adam nifal al pi pi'ulosav. A person is affected based on his actions. Why are there so many mitzvahs in the Torah? Tefillin and putting up a mezuzah and having to shake a lulav. The mitzvahs, by being involved in mitzvahs, has an effect on us. Different than thinking and different than just the actual physical involvement. Moshe Rabbeinu is upset. What's Moshe Rabbeinu upset about? You think he's upset because he didn't get to be on the team? Moshe Rabbeinu is upset because the spiritual benefit that one would gain by actually being involved on a physical level, that he felt he's lacking. Even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu obviously felt, Moshe Rabbeinu, you're not lacking anything. Otherwise he would have done it l'chatchila. So Moshe Rabbeinu is told to go and put up the Mishkan. Go, you do it, you touch it, and put it up. But then we have a problem, because here Rashi says that it's went up by itself, and later on it says that Moshe Rabbeinu did it. Okay, so we're going to go for a ride now. You ready? You understand the problem? Okay. So the problem begins with two midrashim. One's a medrash and one's a Gemara. There's a medrash that says Rabbi Abahu was on his deathbed. Rabbi Abahu is one of the greatest of the Amoraim. And when Rabbi Abahu was on his deathbed, right before he died, he was shown the reward that's waiting for him in the world to come. And Rabbi Abahu was happy, smiled, he laughed, whatever it was, and he said, wow, I thought that my labor, the Torah that he learned, taught, mitzvahs that he did, he said, I thought my labor was in vain, and now I see it. He quoted a pasuk that says, Vani amarti larik yagati. I thought that all of my effort and my toil and Torah and mitzvahs, I thought it was for nothing. I thought it was wasted. And now I see that it wasn't. That's what the Medrash says. Anybody got a problem with that?
Why would you think that?
Why would he think what?
That it was for waste?
Why would he think it was wasted? Sharpen up the question a little bit.
Anyway.
He did it, but sharpen up the question.
Well, isn't it that why is his personal reward have to do with?
No. Go in this direction. Just sharpen the question. We know reward is a basic it's a fundamental belief in Judaism. Rabbi Abahu is an Amora. He's an early level Amora. You didn't know there's reward? All of a sudden you say, wow, I thought all my Torah and wisdom, it was for naught.
Sounds like you don't believe it.
It sounds like Rabbi Abahu, what, you didn't believe in reward and punishment? That's one of the basics of one of the fundamentals of Judaism. So what was, and Rabbi Abahu's an Amora, you didn't believe in it? What's going on? What do you mean you didn't believe it? Oh, I thought I was, Vani amarti larik yagati. I thought that I was toiling for no reason. Question number one. Question number two, okay, we'll come back to that. Question number two is the famous Gemara that we've quoted in the past, in the Gemara in Sukkah on Daf Nun Beis. The Gemara says that in the future, what's going to happen to the evil inclination? What's going to be the ultimate fate of the Yetzer Hara? Does it sound familiar? Do we ever speak about this? God's going to shech the Yetzer Hara. The tzaddikim are going to cry, and the rishoyim are going to cry. The tzaddikim are going to cry. They're going to say, wow, this mountain of Yetzer Hara, how were we able to overcome this mountain? And Rashi on the spot, in the Gemara, Rashi says, they're going to be thinking about the investment of the ordeal, the energy that it took to overcome it's like when you think back how hard you studied for college midterms. Oh man, and it can actually bring tears to your eyes, especially since it was useless. But when you think back, oh man, that was so rough. Oh yeah, I remember that. That was so. Oh, I went to my cousin's wedding. Oh, that was so bad. Yeah, and you can actually, when you think about what it took, it actually, and the tzaddikim are going to cry. We overcame that mountain of temptation. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. What that took out of us. The Rishayim are going to cry. Why are they going to cry? They're going to say, this thin strand of hair, and we tripped over it time and again. Time and again we tripped over it. Oh boy. Oh brother. So the obvious question on the Gemara now is, what? What's the obvious question? What's the obvious question? Make up your mind. Is the Yetzer Hara a mountain? Is the Yetzer Hara a thin strand of hair? And the answer to that, my friends, is that there are two stages. In every temptation in life, there are two stages. There's the imagination stage, and there's the actual experience. In the imagination stage, everything is cracked up bigger and better than it actually is. The experience, it may be good, it may be enjoyable, but it never lives up to the imagination. The classic example is when you're a little kid thinking about going to the amusement park the next day. In your imagination, it's unbelievable. In the actual experience, it was fun, but it doesn't live up quite to that, to what you thought it was. And if that's not a good enough example for you, imagine the example of relatives getting together for Yontif. Oh, we're all going to be together. We're just going to be oh so happy, which lasts for about 10 minutes. And within 6 hours, everybody can't wait to go home. Right? The other, I heard once, you're going to love this, Jeremy. I heard once about a married couple. They spend weeks, months planning their vacation. They get brochures, travel accommodations, activities, lodges, everything, but they never go because they don't want to ruin it. It's profound. Because you're imagining what it's going to be like. Somebody once said, I think a comedian said, going there is a lot on vacation. He said going on to vacation spots it's definitely better than actually getting there. It's all the excitement until you get there, like, it's basically the same thing yet I have at home, just transplanted to a different state where it's hotter and there are more mosquitoes. That's all it is. So imagine a frum Jew who's never had a bacon in his life, or he's never had a cheeseburger. And finally, one day, he gives into his temptation. He goes, well, they've sold 23 billion of them. I must be missing out. And he pulls into a McDonald's, and finally he has his first bite of McDonald's cheeseburger. And what's his reaction? Like, okay, it's okay. But it's not, it's not what it's cracked up to be.
Worst burger I've ever tasted.
We won't repeat that on but it's certainly not what you thought it was going to be, and most experiences in life are like that. So what is a tzaddik? A tzaddik is, he sees the temptation. In the temptation stage, it's a mountain. It's a mountain of pleasure. He doesn't succumb, he doesn't give in. So he walks away from it thinking, boy, I just gave up a whole mountain of forbidden pleasure here. That's agonizing. What is a rasha? He gives in. And every time he gives in, he goes, for that? For that thin strand of hair, I tripped again? And they're going to cry when they realize how weak they were, that they tripped up again and again and again, realizing that there's nothing even there. That's the understanding of the Gemara. But one of the Parsha says, what are the tzaddikim? You know what the tzaddikim are crying about? Why were we put in, gentlemen, we're going back to basics now. Why were we put in this world with free choice? Why were we put here for free choice? Why do we have to go through this? To earn the reward. If God would just give us the reward, that's called nama de kisufa. Nama kisufa literally translates to the bread of shame. When you take a handout, okay, I've got it, but there's a certain humiliation. When we earn it by trying to overcome the Yetzer Hara, so then we feel we've earned it. I've earned my pay. I have no problem taking my salary if I feel that I've earned it. When somebody comes and gives you money, there's a sense of shame, a sense of embarrassment. So the tzaddikim live with an impression. we overcame that mountain. But there's no way we could have overcome that mountain without God's help. And since God had to help us, so what we're actually going to get is a form of bread of shame, because I couldn't do it on my own. That's what Rabbi Abba was surprised. He knows he's going to get reward. But Rabbi Abba expected his reward to be at a level of Nama de Kisufa. Because he felt, listen, even if I've succeeded in Torah and mitzvahs, it's only because God's taken my hand and walked me through it. So what have I got coming for me? Says Rabbi Abba, he starts laughing because he sees, wow, the reward I'm getting is going to be a reward like a paycheck, not Nama de Kisufa. In other words, even though we need the Siyata Dishmaya, because we can't do anything on our own, we have to have Hashem's help, but the reward is going to be paid at the rate of earning as if we've earned it by ourselves. And that's why Rashi here says, the Mishkan went up because God helped Moshe Rabbeinu. So what do you say? You haven't done anything. What does the Chumash say on Pasuk Yud Ches? It says on the next page, Vayokem Moshe es HaMishkan. Moshe puts up the Mishkan. That means Moshe is doing it and will be rewarded at the rate of as if he actually did it. And that's what we have to understand, that yes, we have to daven for Siyata Dishmaya, whatever we do in life, and we need help from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have to realize that getting Siyata Dishmaya is not going to reduce the reward. We earn the Siyata Dishmaya. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us the Siyata Dishmaya, but without the Siyata Dishmaya, without Hashem's help, then there's no way we could accomplish it. That's the idea. By the way, there's another medrash that says on this pasuk, and pasuk Lamed Gimel, this one you'll be able to relate to. Vayaviu as a Mishkan el Moshe as a ov as a back 4 lines from the bottom. They bring the Mishkan, and the medrash on this pasuk says that this is where they instituted the aliyahs in the order of Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael. What's that got to do with this pasuk over here? They brought the Mishkan to Moshe, says the Medrash. They instituted that the aliyahs are in the order of Kohen, Levi, and Yisrael. That's why the Kohen gets the first aliyah, Levi gets the second aliyah, then the Yisrael get what's left. Okay? Why did they institute that, gentlemen? What's the connection between that Medrash and this pasuk? Anybody know why they instituted an order for the aliyahs? What's called Darkei Shalom, to maintain peaceful coexistence in shul. Can you imagine fighting in shul? I mean, honestly, can you imagine people getting upset or arguing in shul? You never, right? Never. So shul is a place that's very, very vulnerable when it comes to people perhaps getting upset. So they instituted in order that there shouldn't be fighting over who gets which aliyahs. The Kohen gets, I mean, there could be fighting among the Kohanim, but assuming the Kohen gets the first aliyah, Levi gets that's official. So nobody can complain, why didn't I get the first aliyah? Second aliyah, third aliyah. So when it comes to building the Mishkan, they're building the Mishkan. What is the main ingredient? What destroyed the ultimate Mishkans? What destroyed the base of Mikdash? Baseless hatred. Well, if you want to try to avoid quarreling and squabbling, so many people said Jews are always fighting. No, they're not. Jews aren't always fighting. Jews don't really fight. Jews quarrel, Jews talk. But Jews don't fight. There are no fist fights among Jews. Jews don't. Once in a while, not too often. Not too. What?
There's litigation.
There's lots of litigation, right? So in order to maintain peaceful coexistence, the Torah says that's what you call it. Now, I want to go one last point here, because this is also very important. I mean, they're all important, I hope. Take a look at, where is it? Yeah, on the next page. This is, so, where did, just 1 second. Where is it? I'm out of. Second. Oh, okay. Here we go. Take a look back on the next page. where it says pasuk that same pasuk that we were looking at. Vayakem Moshe es hamishkan vayiten es adona vayosem es krosha vayiten es bericha vayakem es amudav. 7 lines on the top. This is very important, gentlemen. Very, very important. Take a look at Rashi. Rashi says nothing. Okay, so it's not Rashi. The Medrash here. So Moshe Rabbeinu put up the Mishkan. The Medrash says there are different opinions in the Mishkan. There are different opinions. There's one opinion that says he put it up once each day. He put it up and took it down. That's what the word, dismantled is the word I was looking for yesterday. He erected and dismantled the Mishkan every day for 7 days. That's a big Mishkan. And he did it alone. The second opinion is he did it twice each day. He erected and dismantled the Mishkan twice a day. And the third opinion is he erected and dismantled the Mishkan 3 times a day. What's the Medrash telling us? Okay, he put it up, took it down, put it up, took it down, put it up, took it down. The answer is that every Jew is a minor Mishkan. Every Jew is a minor Beis HaMikdash. And every Jew has to know that there are going to be times where we ourselves are built up and times where we ourselves are dismantled. We are going to have ups and downs in serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the nature of the game. There are going to be ups and downs. And the Medrash is telling us, don't get discouraged. You built yourself up, then you got dismantled spiritually. Okay, build yourself up again. There's a pasuk in Mishli, I think it's in Proverbs or in Koheles, I think it's in Mishli and Proverbs. Sheva yipol tzadik v'kam. The righteous man will fall 7 times and then get up. Now there's one, I'll get to you 1 second. By the way, this was a quote, Shimon Peres, who was known as the big loser in Israeli politics. He was even called, the Israeli nickname for Shimon Peres was Haluzer, right? Because he always was ahead in the polls and then he'd lose the election. So he was running for the primary. He wanted to, in the Labor Party against Yitzhak Rabin. And Rabin defeated him in the primaries. And so one of the newspaper reporters said, well, Mr. Peres, what do you say now? You've lost yet another election. So Shimon Peres said, he said, Sheva yipol tzadik v'kam. The righteous man falls 7 times and arises. Not that he's a tzaddik. That was a matter of opinion. There are other opinions, but that was his opinion of himself. But he quoted this pasuk. Now this pasuk is misunderstood. Many people understand that even if you fall 7 times as a tzaddik, even if the tzaddik falls 7 times, just pick yourself up again. That's one understanding of the pasuk. The other understanding of the pasuk is that tzaddik will fall 7 times, but he continues to pick himself up. I mean, the person sometimes falls and says, "Oh boy, am I cooked?" You see, the pitchfork, the devil with the pitchforks at the gates of purgatory. No, that's the nature of it. Is Sheva yipol tzaddik v'kam. You fall, you get up again. So Moshe Rabbeinu, he puts up, he builds up the Mishkan, and then he dismantles the Mishkan, because that's part of life. Part of life as a Jew is that we're going to have good days, we're going to climb, we're going to grow, and there are going to be other days where we feel dismantled. Okay, so pick yourself up. Tomorrow's another day. There's always another davening coming. There's always another mitzvah to do. Don't worry. There's always another guy to give tzedakah to. So you pick yourself up and get going and get on track again. Somebody had a question. Andrew had a question.
You said you dismantled it, or put it up and dismantled it 7 days. Wouldn't that have included Shabbat?
Wouldn't that have included Shabbos? He's asking if Moshe Rabbeinu did it for 7 days, doesn't that include Shabbos? Now that should be an obvious answer. There should be an obvious answer. Oh, well, we're out of time. I'm sorry. I have to check. That's a good question. What happened? What did Moshe Rabbeinu do on Shabbos? It could be, it says openly that he did it on Shabbos. I'm not sure. I'd have to check. Good question. Good question. Was what literal? That he certainly put it up and took it down once, yes. They put it up at once. The machlokas is only if he did it, how many times a day he did it. I have to check that. Andrew's a good question. It's not a good question. It's an embarrassing question. It's an annoying question. It's a good question. It's a good question. Usually a good question means I've got an answer.